Hi, La Crystal, how are you doing? So we're going to get started here with recruiting and maintaining board members. Again, my name is Sabrina Walker Hernandez, and you are here for recruiting and maintaining board members. And before we get started, again, this presentation is recorded. The recording and slides can be emailed to you upon request. If you have any questions, you can chat them in the question bar, and I will answer them in a formal Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So about me, I studied political science and public administration, and I obtained my nonprofit management certification from Harvard Business School. And for the last 25 years, I worked in the nonprofit industry in direct services, operations, and executive leadership. In 2018, I was diagnosed with cancer, and as you guys know, it's very stressful in the nonprofit world. So I felt I needed to retire. And since then, I've been helping people take their nonprofits to the next level. So what I do workshops, I do board retreats, webinars, coaching, and consulting for nonprofits, exclusively for nonprofits. Who will benefit from this webinar today is going to be nonprofit CEOs looking to diversify their boards, nonprofit chairs seeking to recruit the best to fit their board, and anyone looking to enhance their board recruitment process. So recruiting and maintaining board members. So selection of board members on the basis of friendship and partnership relationships or just because they're a good old boy or a good old gal usually fails to evaluate the future needs of the organization. So we're trying to come up with a formalized process for establishing a solid board. So establishing solid individual board members requires an in-depth look at what the board and whole needs to round out a well-balanced, highly diverse, dedicated group of individuals. And we're going to talk about that. One of the things in working with a lot of nonprofits, a lot of the CEOs or the founders say, well, I can't find good board members. Well, usually they have placed their relatives or people they know on the board, and it's the good old boy system. And this looks at actually establishing a process, seeing what you need in a board member, and then going out and recruiting that person who fits that profile. And so what I was talking about was commonly known as the bubble theory. And then looking to identify the right people that you know that you need is commonly known as smart thinking. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Building the board is a year-round process, and a lot of people don't realize that it is a year-round process. And the following presentation looks at the 3 critical areas of that process. So we're going to look at attributes and characteristics. So what is attributes? So attributes are traits that a person builds over time through their professional development. And characteristics are traits that people are born with, but that is still a skill set that they can develop over time. We're also going to look at the recruiting process, because the recruiting process says a lot and will help you get that board member that you want. And then maintaining the investment. Once you got that board member, how are you going to maintain that investment? And how are you going to ensure that they maintain their energy and their commitment to your organization? So what attributes and characteristics should a new board member have? Are they able to attend meetings? That is key. A good goal is, can they attend at least 75% of your meetings? And when they're in the meetings, can they take action and make decisions? They want to be informed about your mission, services, policies, and programs. They're willing to make a financial contribution in order to confirm their dedication to your organization. That one is a given to me. 100% of your board members should be investing in your organization. One, when you're seeking grants, a lot of foundations now want to know that 100% of your board members are giving. And if they're not giving at 100% level, a lot of times foundations will not support your organization. So you need to be aware of that, and the board members need to be aware of that. Again, does the board members have the best interest of the organization in mind and avoid conflicts of interest and confidentiality matters? Do they inform their friends and associates about the organization? and always on the lookout for solid potentials to serve on the board without engaging in the Bubba theory. Are they always looking for other people who can serve on the board without engaging in Bubba theory? That means they're not just saying, this is my friend, put them on the board. No, they know what the board needs. They've identified them. It's great that they're your friends, but this is the role that they're filling with the board. And they refrain from making special requests of the professional staff, and they assist the board in carrying out the fiduciary responsibilities by staying informed about financial matters within the organization. So these are the attributes or characteristics that a new board member should have. Things to consider when it's time to recruit new life onto your board. Do you have a plan for recruiting members? And your plan cannot simply be, oh, they're breathing and they're alive, so let's put them on our board. You need to have a plan. And we're going to talk about the matrix and a couple other things later as we get into this. But who is the recruitment team for new board members? A lot of times that could be your executive committee, or it could be your board nomination committee. If you have a board nomination committee, they're the ones who are recruiting new people. They're the team. They're the ones who take that potential new board member to a lunch or a breakfast and sit down with them and talk with them and say, this is what it means to be on this board, and ask and answer any questions that they have. Has the potential board member been informed about why you want to see them? You got a potential new board member. Do they know that you're considering them for the board, and that you want to sit down and have a follow-up with them, with that recruitment team, to see if they have any questions? Have you prepared a packet of organizational information for the candidate to review? Now, what should be in that packet? You should have a little fact sheet about your organization, what the mission is, who you serve, how many you serve. You should have something in there, a job description. You should have a job description for the board member. And you should also have a copy of your signed annual commitment. And if you don't have those things, don't worry. You can go on my website, www.supportingworldhope.com. And I have a members only kind of area where you can get sample documents. You can get a sample document of a job description. You can get sample documents of the annual commitment form. You can get all those sample documents there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but it shows the candidate that you are professional when you come in and you have a packet ready for them during the review process. Have you advised this person about their expectation as a board member? Again, that should be included in the packet. When your recruitment team is meeting with them for breakfast or lunch, they can go over those expectations. You set the standard just in the recruitment process of what type of board member you're going to be bringing on. Have you predetermined and advised this person of where you see them fitting into your board and your committee structure? Have you considered board diversity, age, experience, industry, race? All of those things need to be considered. And again, on my website, that's called a board matrix, and you can outline and lay out each of your board members, and you can put them, okay, this is Sabrina, and Sabrina, here's her age, here's her race, here's her background, this is the expertise that she brings to the table, and you lay that out for all of your board members, and it'll show you where your gaps are. So you may need to recruit someone that's a banker, or you may need to recruit someone that is an attorney. But if you do that matrix, it will show all the gaps and all the things where you are missing these things. And then finally, how long after the candidate comes on board do they receive a formal orientation? I cannot begin to tell you how board members do not get orientations, and it's very important that they do receive orientation. So board, that's the recruitment process. And I know it sounds a little intense because you don't want the Bubba theory. You do not want to fill your board with just warm bodies, people that are breathing, because if you do, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. And so you have to spend some time up front in the recruitment process. Now, just because you have a great recruitment process doesn't mean that everything is going to be hunky-dory. You still have to do some maintenance. So maintaining what you have cultivated would go a long way in harvesting a long-term and committed relationship. So board maintenance, what does that look like? You recognize good work. Does your board have a recognition program in place for unselfish commitment and contributions to the organization? And what I mean by that, it says to the club here, sorry, my background is Boys and Girls Club. What does that mean? It means every year, I could say for our organization, we had a board member of the year. We recognize those people who actually, we highlighted the board members who did what we wanted them to do, and we wanted other people to copy that. And so we did a board member of the year, and we did a Christmas banquet, and that was named at the Christmas banquet. And that was actually an honor that each of the board members received when they were named board member of the year. So think about some of those things that you can recognize, and maybe it doesn't have to be that formal, but you do want to recognize the good work that board members are doing, because you want people to copy that board member. Do you do an assessment? Is there a formal evaluation program each year for your board members annually? And if, again, you can go on the website and go into that, and you can find an annual evaluation. And that is the expectation form. And you go over the expectation form, and it actually helps them and reminds them what is expected of them. And then at the end of the year, you have the board chair, or you can have the person that's in charge of the recruitment team evaluate each board member. Engage. Are they engaged? Find what your board members are good at and keep them involved in those areas of interest. So if your board member is good at building maintenance, and their background is construction, and you have a building, then have them do that. If it's more program related and they are really passionate about the program, have them volunteer the program. And not daily, but if you have a competition of something for your clients, have them judge that, or whatever that is. And then rotation. When it's time for them to go, let them, but keep them in the loop for future support. Don't let your board members just walk away without engaging them in future support. And there is a board member cycle. And that cycle starts with identifying. That's what we talked about in the recruitment process. You identify with that matrix. You say, okay, this is who I'm looking for. This is the type of person I'm looking for. Let's be on the lookout for them. Bam, I got a name. I've identified them. Now you got to cultivate them. Just because you've identified them for your board doesn't mean that they necessarily see themselves on your board. So you got to start cultivating them, feeding them information about your organization, getting them involved, inviting them in, getting them on a tour of your nonprofit, whatever that is, to get them engaged in your nonprofit. And then you're going to recruit them. That's when your team starts trying to set up a breakfast with them or lunch with them and say, hey, would you consider being on our board? And then once you get them recruited, you have to orientate them. People always forget the orientation process. Do not forget to orientate your board members, because what's going to happen is you're going to get frustrated when they don't do what they're supposed to do. Well, if you never orientated them, they don't know what they're supposed to do. And you also have to remember that these are people who are volunteers. They have a full-time job, and this is their volunteer experience. And just because you orientate them does not mean that they're going to remember. So you have to activate them as a board member. That means getting them involved. And then you have to educate them. And educate them means reminding them about their commitment to the organization, reminding them that it is the board members' primary responsibility to fundraise for the organization, educating them on fundraising. People get so frustrated with board members because they say, well, they're not helping me, and they're not fundraising, and they're not doing this, and they're not doing this. Have they ever been educated on it? They're just like you and I. This might be their first time being on a board at all, and they don't know what they don't know. So you have to educate them on being a board member. And so I have a sample agenda on my website that I was telling you about that shows you how to do your board meeting in an hour and a half and include 15 minutes of education, whether that's education on fundraising, whether that's education on governance, whatever that is that you see that your board is missing, then you educate them on it. They are not born knowing how to be a board member. So don't forget that. And then you're going to rotate. Rotate means you have term limits, and I'm on two minds of the term limits. In the organization that I was with, we did have term limits, 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year term limits, but we could renew a term limit. So that means you did not have to come off of our board. So if you were like in a 3 year slot and your 3 years was up, we could renew you for another 1 year slot or another 2 year slot or another 3 year slot. My opinion is, as long as a board member is producing, they can stay on the board, whether that's 15 years, 20 years, however many years, they can stay on the board as long as they're producing and giving you what you need. And then, of course, like we said, you evaluate your board members. Every year, board members can sign the expectation form, and the board chair or whoever's in charge of the recruitment team or however you have it set up can sit down with that board member and say, okay, this is what you said you were going to do at the beginning of the year, and this is what you have done, and you evaluate whether this is a good fit for that board member or not. But you have to go through this board building cycling process in order to ensure that you have a good board. And I cannot stress that enough. The next slide is not coming up here. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay, so I use this as my track record in my organization for over 15 years as the CEO of a nonprofit organization. The board raised over $2 million each year, and we had a give or get policy of $5,000 each. And my organization was located along the Mexico-Texas border in the third poorest country in the United States. So it can be done. If you just remember that board cycle, you make sure that you identify your board members. You identify that perfect candidate, if there's such thing as a perfect candidate. Once you have that person identified, you can then go and cultivate them, invite them into your organization, invite them to sit down with different board members, and you go through that process, and then you get them on your board. And once they're through that process and you have other like-minded people there, then you would start to see some difference in your board. And so that give or get of 5,000 was very easy for my board members to obtain. Why? Because if you remember in that cycle, we talked about education. And then when I say give or get of 5,000, we credit them with everything. So if we had a raffle and they sold a raffle ticket, they got credit for that. If they opened the door for a gift, and we can talk about door openers really quick. A door opener on your board of director is someone who knows a lot of people, and they're willing to introduce you as the founder or the CEO or the executive director to that person for you to start developing a relationship with that person that they open that door to that relationship. And then that relationship turned into a donation. Well, that board members got credit for that. And so you're just trying to find ways to recognize the success of each board member. And so it's very easy when you're doing that to say, okay, each board member has a give or get of $5,000. And whether they never ask for a gift and they're always a door opener and they introduce you to the right people and that turns into a gift, they should get the credit for that. And I cannot stress that enough. So I've had some clients over the years, and here's some of the things that my clients have said about me. Because my goal is to help nonprofits strengthen their boards and help with fundraising and do all those things. But I have a diverse background. So this is from the Capable Kids Foundation. They are a nonprofit that's been around for several years, and they finally got to the point where they were going to hire their first CEO, and I helped them with their hiring process to identify someone. And so this is what they are saying about me. They hired me to advise them doing their search for the executive director. And I can say with great confidence that their executive director was the perfect fit and they're doing an awesome bang up job. I also worked with the Palm Valley Animal Society here locally, and they brought me on board to help with their major fundraiser called Puppy Love. And that event raised the most that it had and in the years that it has been going on. And I'm very proud to say that I was a part of that. And so that's what my clients say about me. Now that we've covered recruiting and maintaining board members, I would like to further my discussion with you. But before we continue, I want to know if anyone has any questions out there about recruiting and maintaining your board members. It's very important. If you notice, I spent a lot of time on the recruitment piece. It's very important that you sit down and you come up with a recruitment plan. And when I say sit down and come up with a recruitment plan, I don't mean you as the founder or the CEO or the executive director. You need to involve your board in this, coming up with a plan, or you do the plan and you present it to them and saying, this is where we want to go. How do y'all feel about this? A lot of times, if you wait for your board to do it, it's going to take a long time. But I've found, and this is just one of those professional tips, I've found that if you develop the process and then take it to them and have them either give you feedback on it, pick it apart, whatever it is, be prepared for that. And then you take it back, fix it with their tweets, with their input, and then take it back to them. It'll be a much faster process than you trying to get the board to just come up with a recruitment plan. Always have something ready for them that you take to them and allow them to give you feedback and allow them to pick it apart. And then you take that back and you tweak it based on their input. But you have to spend some time in recruiting and making sure that the expectations are there up front with this new board member, and you have an orientation. I cannot stress enough how important a board orientation is for a new board member. And when you're maintaining a board, how important education is. And don't forget recognition. We talked about recognition a little bit. Don't forget recognizing those board members. Come up with something where you can recognize the board members that you want other board members to emulate. And that will take you a long way. So I would like to thank you for attending my webinar. If you're interested in going deeper, I do have consultations that I do for free. There's no cost to you. We can call and discuss how we can talk about the board development plan. What is a board matrix? I mentioned the board matrix and several times and how it's used to ensure diversity. So basically, a board matrix, if you don't have a matrix, I encourage you to start developing one for your organization, and then we can also talk about how you can apply the format that we discussed. But on my website, www.supportingworldhope.com, there is a free resource library there, and you can log on and you can get a copy of the board matrix. You can log on and you can get a copy of an agenda that is timed, that will show you how to hold your board meetings in an hour and a half and include education in there at every board meeting, including generative questions. And all of those documents are in there, including the expectation form. So even if you didn't want to talk to me, you can go on that website and look into those resources, and it's all there. But I do encourage you to have a conversation with me, because there are a lot of things that I can share with you around board development that I learned in my 25 years and in nonprofit and in my 15 years of serving as a CEO. The last thing we're going to talk about here is going to be, I would like for you to join me for my 3 free Fund Your Nonprofit Challenge. In this challenge, we're going to be writing your nonprofit case for support, because a lot of people don't take the time to sit and just write the case for support. Why should someone support your organization? And it's outside of just because of the great mission that we do. You go more in depth to that. And it'll actually be your building block and your boilerplate for when you are applying for foundation grants or other grants. You have this as a boilerplate information. Your case for support, you just copy and paste into the grant. It'll save you a lot of time. In this challenge, we'll also develop a list of prospective donors. Even if you're just getting started with fundraising and you have no list, we're going to go through an exercise that you're going to walk away and you're going to have a list by the time we get through the exercise. You're going to gain confidence in fundraising skills, and you're going to gain access to a private members only area with live Q&A where you can ask me anything around fundraising, and that is the website there. I will tell you, for this 3-day fundraising challenge, that last gain confidence in fundraising skills is all going to be about mindset, because even I, as a seasoned fundraiser, I still get nervous when I ask people for money, but it's all about a mindset. You're not asking for yourself, you're asking for the clients that you serve, for the mission that you're trying to complete. And so we'll delve into that mindset and how to get over that awkwardness and that nervousness when you are out there asking for donations. So at this time, I will take a moment and I will pause and see if we have any questions. If you could fill them in or chat them in if you have any questions, or take yourself off of mute, or however you would like to do it. I can ask any questions around board recruitment and maintaining the board. If there is no questions, are y'all sure there is no questions? Because I know I tend to also talk fast, so I hope I didn't go through this too fast. I do try to be respectful of your time. I know it's lunchtime for some. So if there is no question, let's see here. I got one chat. Hello, hello, hello. If there is no questions, then I will say at this time that that is our recording for today. And I really appreciate you being here. And thank you so very much. Y'all have a blessed day. Let's see if I got a question.